Hold my breath. Turn blue. Not off. All right, are we good? All right. Go ahead. Call our uh, special magistrate hearing for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026 to order. Thank you for your patience. We have to wait until the scheduled time for any potential online viewers. All right. Roll call of staff, please.
Holly New for the city.
John Gifford, Code Enforcement. Gary Highball, Code Enforcement.
Michelle Piccicello, Clerk to the Magistrate.
Thank you so much. All right, the minutes of our March 25th, 2026 meeting. Any additions, corrections, deletions?
None from the city.
Okay, we'll consider those accepted as submitted. Thank you for that. Any deletions or changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We have two parking citation appeals. First one is Brian Gardner, in case P02438, FB. Is Mr. Saunders or Gardner here?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. If you would step to the podium, would you please raise your hand to be sworn? If you would, oh, there, are we online? Okay.
Hello.
Good afternoon again, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Would you please state your full name and residence address for the record?
It's Brian Gardner, 17 Rimson Lane in Palm Coast.
Okay. Well, you're here on an appeal that you've requested from a parking citation issued, looks like on March 6th at about 2:30 in the afternoon. And apparently you were cited for parking in the wrong direction. What do you want to tell me about that, sir?
So, first of all, I'm just sorry that it happened, and I'm really just asking for leniency, right?
Okay.
I've been coming, I live like 10 minutes away. I'm down here 3 or 4 days a week. You might see those aren't my pictures, but I post a lot online. I do a lot of sunrises and all that. But clean record, no, I don't, I pay attention to the parking regulations. And if you know 6th Street, North 6th Street, next to Golden Lion,
Yeah.
it barely looks like a one-lane road. And it was right on Friday of Bike Week, so there was only 3 spaces in the whole town. I'm trying to park to go to Golden Lion, and I saw a spot, and I said, oh, good, there it is. And I just didn't even think about it, to be honest.
There's no doubt that parking here in the Flagler Beach is a major challenge, but that unfortunately doesn't forsake the opportunity to get cited if we don't do it properly. I'm assuming that the silver Nissan is yours.
It is, yeah.
It looks like a lemming moment. Do you know what a lemming moment is?
Follow,
Yeah,
jump off the cliff.
There was one going off the cliff, and you decided to go with him. Is that pretty accurate? Let me take a minute, and I appreciate the contrition. That carries a lot of weight. I want to explain for your benefit, and you'll understand in a moment why parking in the wrong direction is an issue. First of all, guess what happened when you parked like you did? You committed 4 traffic offenses, moving violations. 1, it's improper lane usage. 2, driving on the wrong side of the road. Then when you left, guess what you did? Did it again. You drove on the wrong side of the road and improper lane usage. And so theoretically, you could have been cited for 4 moving violations, which carry far more severe sanctions.
Mm.
You're lucky that's not what we're here about. So that in and of itself is highly motivational perhaps to not do that in the future.
Absolutely.
And just so you know, wrong direction parking is not limited to Flagler Beach. It's universally prohibited because it's hazardous. One of the reasons, for obvious reasons, if you're driving on the wrong side of the road, somebody comes around the corner quickly, suddenly, we have a head-on potential.
I understand.
When you go to leave, you're now seated on the opposite side from the roadway, which compromises your vision and ability to determine the presence of other traffic. Plus, if you pull out, somebody suddenly comes around the corner, they're not anticipating someone being head on. Again, the hazard. I mean, I like people to understand policy behind why there are restrictions and prohibitions. And I can there's more, but I think you understand. And so let's see what was your citation amount? $100 fine, right? All right. What's the city have any disposition on this in light of the appellant's contrition?
No, we'll defer to whatever you think is best.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the fine, but you do have a small mailing cost, so I'm going to reduce the fine by 50%, but then there's $9.60 in expenses that were incurred associated with the appeal.
Oh, okay.
But the other thing I'm going to have you do is become a teacher. And that's the price of having to come in to see me. But, the value of teaching is that teachers learn the most by virtue of educating others. And I'm going to ask you to have conversations spread over a 60-month window within which, or 60-day window within which to accomplish this. But talk to 20 licensed drivers. It could be family, neighbors, friends, but they need to be drivers where the benefit of what you're going to share with them will have value. And that is to explain, I was cited for parking in the wrong direction. And as part of that, I requested a hearing and I learned something. I learned that I committed moving violations, that in doing what I did, but there's reasons why it's not a good thing to do that relate to safety. It's all about safety. Can you do that?
Sure.
Is that a fair deal?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that's what we'll do.
All right.
To be
Thank
clear,
you.
it's $59.60, including mailing costs.
That includes the mailing costs, yes. And then 20 drivers within 60 days. We're going to give you a form. It's what you're going to need to do is just the name of the individual, the date that you spoke to them, and then you'll submit it. And it's expected that you will follow through and do this honorably. And thank you, ma'am. The next time,
Copies is for you.
I park sometimes down at the police station because it's the only place that's available. Fortunately, today I didn't have to, but walking is healthy for us. So, if you're struggling to find a spot, take the time to find one where you won't get cited. And I urge you to stay for the next one because we have a similar situation that I think there will be benefit in hearing about as
Okay.
well. All right, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for your contrition. That, as I say, is valuable. I can't overlook it completely, And it's not about the money. It's really about again, all premised around safety. Michelle has a copy of the order for you. You're welcome to stay or go as you so choose. All right, thank you. All right, our next matter is another parking citation appeal, and this one is Deborah Tober. Are you here, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. And it's P02482FB. And if you would, please step to the podium, ma'am. Hi.
Hi, I learned something. You can put my name down because I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know you could get a ticket for it, so
Well,
I won't be doing that.
well, we would hope not. We don't want you to have to come back on
No.
time.
No.
If you will be sworn.
I do.
If you would state your full name and residence address for the record, please.
Deborah Tober, 2 Claremont Drive, Flagler Beach.
Okay. So you're a city resident.
On the other side of the bridge.
You know, the trolls,
We're like in the middle.
trolls keep people from going back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, I have so many friends that live beachside, and I go, did you go across the bridge? Oh no, I don't go over the bridge. So, anyway, all right. Well, let's see. We have, in your instance, a citation issued March 12th at about 10:19 in the morning, and it involved parking on the sidewalk. I would like to hear what you have to say.
Well, it's on 6th Street, right by 6th Street Deli. And my husband and I go there all the time. And usually we park in the handicap. But if that's not available, I park in that little spot. It's under the palm tree. And it's like a graded area like that.
Is this the palm tree in your vehicle?
I believe so. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I drive a smart car, so it fits perfectly there. And honestly, I've parked there several times, and I did not know. There's no sign or anything.
Well, let me share something on that happy point. There's a city ordinance about not parking on sidewalks. There's a state statute about not parking on sidewalks, and let's talk about what's behind that. Have you ever pushed a baby in a stroller?
Yes, sir.
Ever been in a wheelchair? If you were in a wheelchair and your smart car was parked on the sidewalk, what would you have to do?
Go around it.
Go around, where would you go?
In the road.
In a wheelchair, or on crutches, or with a cane, or just walking a dog, whatever. You're beginning to understand the issue?
Yes, sir.
It's so that pedestrians are not put at risk by virtue of having to go around a vehicle. Signage is not required to prevent.
But it was graded like that where those cars are parked. That's why I parked there.
That's sidewalk. I'm looking at it, and that's clearly sidewalk. And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just being real.
I understand.
And but again, the reason we don't park on, if you're handicapped, is it you or your husband?
The husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a veteran.
Drop him off, and then drive around until you can find a proper spot to park. If there's no handicap space available, that's the logical option. We don't want you driving the not-so-smart car and getting another citation. All right. Do you appreciate the situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to do for you as I did for Mr. Gardner, and that is I'm going to have the fine, and I'm going to you also have $9.60 in mailing costs, which needs to be recovered.
Yes, sir.
But, and then guess what you get to do too? Get to teach.
I will.
And
I will.
Please
I will.
take the task. Oh, I know, and I understand, but I'm just going to take the task seriously because you you're hopefully preventing someone else from getting a citation. But more than that, you're hopefully preventing something more tragic happening. You know, I can just, if it was at night, somebody's in a wheelchair and they try to go around, all of a sudden a car comes zipping and, you know, they could be killed. And those are the kind of issues that we're really concerned about, okay?
Yes, sir.
So it'll be the same 60 days to have the conversations, and if you heard friends, neighbors, family, just have to be drivers.
Okay.
20 people and the reduced
To one half $50
plus meal.
plus the
meal.
960.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You acknowledge that maybe there's better ways to do it, right? Thank you. We'll get you in order here in a moment. You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Drive safe. And that too.
That's first. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
You keep that one. Pen failed. Well, she's finishing. Is anyone here for Flagler Square? Xander Holding? John Paiva? That's yes, John. Zachary Ziegler? And Marcella and Alvin Stanfield? Yeah, that's the trust, that's right. All right, I'm gonna jump and take these folks since the others are out of order. We're gonna do Mr. Paiva first, 8B. So it minimizes his inconvenience having to be here.
Raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the testimony you're about to give?
I do. I do.
Good afternoon again,
How you
Mr.
doing?
Paiva. If you would, for the record, go again, please state your name and
Yeah.
address.
John Paiva, 1747 North Central Ave,
Very
Flagler
good.
Beach, Florida, 32136.
Well, thank you for coming back, and thank you for clearing the leftovers. Is that the best way to put it? They went down the road,
Yep, there's one.
found a way to ride on a wrecker.
Yep.
Okay, and shall I assume we won't have a repeat?
No.
All right. I'm trying to remember what I did on that last time. So we have some expenses that we do need to recover, right?
Previous order. Sorry. In the previous order, you imposed the administrative cost of $19.20.
Do we have anything further?
And I don't think that he received it
Okay.
right away,
Okay.
because all the mail comes back to us.
Right.
So,
I got the one for today, yeah.
you did get the one for
I
today.
gave you a check the other day for the other one. I dropped it off to
You dropped it off?
that woman with the blonde hair and the glasses. I don't remember her name.
Okay.
The
I'll have
first one,
to-
yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look.
Yeah,
at
she
the
said you
number.
were out that day.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
we
it's
call it-
1960, but then the remainder is another 1960 to make the city whole if you choose to impose that.
Okay. I'm going to do that, so it'll be an additional 1960.
Yeah, okay.
And
Sure.
but that's a fairly
yeah.
modest cost for the matter having to be heard. So, if you would, and we'll just have that as a finding that it's now in compliance
Right.
and additional costs for the rehearing at 1960.
Okay.
Okay. Are we good on that, Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing that.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we'll get you an order on that one as well.
Okay.
It'll be in the mail.
Yep, I just,
And is that address still a good address to send
yes,
it to?
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. All right. Have a good rest of your afternoon. And I'm going to jump to item 8D, and that's Marcella L. and Alvin Stanfield trustees, and that's case number EN 260101.
This is the last one in,
South Ocean Shore.
sorry, sir, it's the last one in the handout.
Okay, yep. Hello again.
Hello.
All right.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the
Correct.
testimony you're
Yes.
about to give?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to request that they remove the violation and drop it because they had already, I have the permits, everything was done in 2012 originally, and they couldn't find the records. So when I had a hot water heater put in 2016, they did the same thing. They saw the bathroom, and then they called Terry's Plumbing because they pulled the permit in 2012 and paid for it. They actually charged me again for the permit. So I paid for the permit twice, and Mr. Richard McFadden approved it, so the plumbing final is right here. So I should never have been violated. There's no violation, it should have been dropped. Never even been done.
All right, well, hold on a second. If,
Mr. McFadden's not here, he was made.
I can give you that.
all right, it's okay. Show that to the attorney, please. Show it to the city attorney.
You're fine, just.
Take a deep breath. We're all good.
You're welcome. The information that I have, I show 4 permits that he got.
Okay,
One was finalized May 15th, 2013. The other one was finalized January 28th, 2014. Another one was finalized May 5th, 2017, and one that was finalized 11/16/2021.
and by final meaning that they were signed off as were complete and approved?
Yes, sir.
So is there any remaining issue?
Well, we didn't actually see that. That was something that Mr. McFadden, the chief building inspector, saw. That's why we had him here last time. Well, we had John Loriano had to take his place last time.
Okay,
I'm not sure what the situation is this time.
okay. I do know that your neighbors in association have some concerns,
They shouldn't because everything was done illegally and approved.
okay? But that's been voiced that there were, concerns about the maintenance of the unit and so forth. Is that being addressed?
I pay my fees, I pay everything.
Okay.
There's just no, I rip the floors up, I don't have to have flooring, I can have concrete floors. That's legal.
Inside your 4 walls.
Yes, it's legal. There's nothing wrong with the plumbing. The plumbing was done in 2012. It was approved in 2012. They came out and did it. But you guys didn't look for the record. They came out in 2016.
Excuse me. Stop.
I'm sorry, but if somebody did their job right,
Hold on.
stuff online.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
Stop. You know what? We're going to behave as adults, calmly and civilly. We're not going to raise our voices. We're not going to be making accusations. You need to stand where you can be heard on the record, behind the podium. Thank you. Do not get angry with me, because that would not be in your best interest. Okay? I'm listening to you, and we're headed in the right direction, and you will be happy with the outcome as long as we maintain proper decorum. Fair enough? Yeah. All right. That they did not have the benefit of that or were aware of it is unfortunate, but there's no serious harm here. Do we agree on that?
Correct.
You agree?
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, I'm here to make sure that justice is dispensed, whether it's the city's benefit or your benefit. That's the result we're looking for.
This is the third time, though. I'm sorry, so it's a little frustrating.
Well, I can't speak but for what time I've had with you, which was last hearing and again today. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's work to come up. All I'm seeking is that everything needs to be as it's supposed to be. And if it's what it's supposed to be, then we don't have an issue. Fair enough?
Correct.
Okay. Are we,
The permit was signed off, it was all looked into, and everything was finalized in 2012 originally. Then in 2016, I got a hot water heater, and they saw that, and they said, oh, we didn't have the permit. But unfortunately, they don't have the records online or in the computer system, and they would have to go and do the research. So they charged me for the permit again. Terry's Plumbing would never have done the work originally without a permit.
understood.
Okay, so then they had to pay for another permit, so they charged me again in 2017 for a permit again. Okay, so I paid for it twice already. And then they did the same thing. They came into the unit because of the deck that was in my apartment because somebody jumped over the balcony.
Understood.
And so they saw it again, and they did the same thing this time. Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't really want to be up in Flagler Beach anymore right now because of everything that happened up here.
Well, I can't do anything with what the history is other than hear what you have to say and then make a judgment based on the facts as I understand them, okay? And what I'm understanding is that you have secured all the permits that were necessary and they've been approved and that there's nothing outstanding. Am I right?
Correct.
All the information I have is what was filed on those permits. We didn't actually see in the building, chief building official did. I have no.
All right, so we're not in a position to debate or dispute what he's testifying to, correct? Okay. In which case, I'm going to dismiss the violation, and that will conclude the matter because. But if you do any more work, make sure.
I'm well aware that everything I do, I need a permit. I've done a permit every single time.
That's what I want to hear.
I've done in that unit, I've pulled a permit.
All right, well, and I would urge you to I don't know the details of any issues in with the neighbors or whatever, but I would urge you to reach out to the association and just make sure that everybody's on the same page. And
There's no issue with the association. The gentleman, Mr. McFadden, said he was worried that there would be a leak or something if the permit wasn't done correctly. If it was just like I did it.
But it was
nothing has been touched since 2012.
All right. It was done by a licensed plumbing contractor.
Oh, and they came out and checked it in 2012. But then, as I said, I paid a plumber to do the hot water heater in 2016. Yeah. They saw the thing again and said, oh, they didn't have a permit because it wasn't updated online from 2012. So they didn't go back and check.
That is unfortunate. But,
yes.
All right, well,
but for it to happen again, they didn't even check the records to see if permits were pulled first already. They just said, oh, this will work. But it was from 2012.
Well, let's start today with a clean slate.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, sir.
How about that?
That's fine.
If you would, we'll just have an order that
okay.
The violation is dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You have a good day.
You too. Okay. You're welcome to stay.
I can't believe it. I mean, that place is so inhabitable.
It's not complete. I don't know, from what you say.
What, condominium law is outside walls are common property, inside is individual property, and what's inside is, so,
I guess I just questioned that he had a final inspection because the bathroom is totally demolished. If there's nothing in there, there's no toilet, no sink.
There's actually an open drain where the toilet would sit on. I mean, that can't be kosher.
I don't know what to say other than we have to go on the basis of what we know here, and yeah, it's challenging. Yeah. I'm sorry. I do, you know, it's,
So he doesn't have to do anything now. He's totally off the hook for anything.
for the moment, yes. As far as, unless there's some other violation that comes up. I can't, in the absence of the building inspector here to dispute what he's claiming, I don't, you know, I have to go on the evidence that is in front of me, which is,
It have been tabled until the building inspector could be here.
no. No, you know, I can't keep him coming back and coming back. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Hopefully it resolves. It sounds as if,
Next time we'll get for something else, probably.
okay. Good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move back to 7A, new case, EEN 260108, and that's Flagler Square, and no one is here.
That's the first page in the handout.
Yeah.
On the cover. They have complied. That's the container or the enclosure to enclose all their tippy carts when it's not pickup day.
Okay. And this was a new case, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. What do we have in costs associated with this one, Michelle?
My calculations.
The order's going to be, here, I've got it, 3110?
Is it 3110 or 19?
No, they're just different sections of possible costs. So usually on the front sheet is where I'll put the total cost of mailing.
Oh, it's 1994.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it's
I'm sorry.
1994.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, if you would prepare an order that indicates that there was violation has been cured, and but that the respondent is obliged to pay the sum of 1994, 30 days.
Okay.
Is that enough time?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay.
And a repeat violation in the future.
Would be enhanced.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to give them a little bit more time for drafting the order, signing it, and then mailing?
Yeah, let's make it 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah, we were a little close on the last go.
Did we want to do 60 days or did we want to do the magistrate date? I know the May one is the 27th. I don't know off the top of my head when the June one is. Remember?
As far as, you mean, as...
You mean if they don't pay the mailing costs, we'd bring them back before the magistrate?
No, just, we
could bring it up at the hearing following if it was not paid, okay? So that would be, 60 would be May, June, so it would be, in July would be heard if there was a failure to pay, okay?
I know eventually, because there is a list that we have outstanding costs from years back that Drew had suggested to put them all on one agenda to address them all at once.
I think we should do that.
Okay. Yes,
It may even be a special hearing because are there an abundant number?
I wouldn't say abundant, but
A dozen?
no, maybe not that much.
Oh,
But
it's not a big,
you might run out of fingers soon.
okay. All right, well, in that case, let's consider getting that going. Even if we roll a few into one hearing and more into a later hearing, we could bifurcate.
Right, but if I'm correct, Holly, I'd have to notice all of them.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be just like a regular hearing for failure to, honor the order.
Would that be an imposition of fines notice?
No, because you would just be bringing them, like, that fine has already been imposed.
But then they're gonna be subjected to additional costs for having failed to pay, so that,
So just a regular notice of hearing or status? We could talk about it offline.
Yeah, I think it would be noticed, but I'd have to look back at the orders, see the specific language of the orders as to
Okay.
what is being required, and then that will dictate how it is, we approach the follow-up hearings.
All right, so I'll start gathering that information and then get it to you to look at, and then we'll kind of decide a course of
I
action.
think that's a good call. All right.
The city may have something specific in our code as well.
All right, so, 8A, case number EEN 260031, Xander Holding Group, and that's 2038 South Ocean Shore Boulevard. No one is here on their behalf, but where are we on this one?
That should be the second one in your packet. They do have a permit. They've got a permit now. They would like to have some time to do the job now. Apparently they had problems finding somebody that wanted to do that job. It's not a big job, and it's always hard around here to
I
find
understand.
a small job.
Yeah, did they indicate how much time they would like?
No, sir, I was thinking 30 days.
I'm trying to remember, what was it they need to cure?
There's some pictures of there. It's siding. It's not a lot.
You know what, let's be a little more lenient. What's the June hearing date? What I would say is, I would, 10
June
days,
24th.
the 24th,
Mhm.
and let's give them until June 14th
14.
to comply. And that way you have a window of opportunity to determine if it's not in compliance. And what we'll do is put this on the hearing agenda for the June hearing. And this order will require them to appear in the event that the matter has not been cured.
Okay.
And they'll also be obligated to pay the costs, which are $38.40. On or before that date as well.
And then paying the administrative costs on or before that date is, okay.
You know, if they're in compliance, they don't need to reappear, but if they're not in compliance, then you'll know. Do they understand they need to contact you for a reinspection?
Probably not, but we can take care of that.
Let's put that in there, if you would, that they need to, do they have to pull a permit for that work?
They did.
Yes, sir, they did.
They did pull the permit, okay. But did they pull it in their name or as a contractor?
I did not bring it with me.
But he gives them 6 months. All our permits are 6 months, so you have
Right.
180 days.
Yeah. Well, we'll, if they're making progress, then, it won't be an issue, but if they'd run into a problem, but the burden will be on them to make sure that we understand. Okay. All right, then our last item on the agenda to be heard is EN 260083 Zachary Ziegler, 160 Lantana Avenue. And if you would refresh my
That's the one
recollection.
with the 3 photos on it.
Yeah,
They had, 2 doorways that were wide open. They've been secured.
right,
The deck on the dock
Right.
was in bad shape. All the decking is removed. The posts are still there because they're going to reuse them.
so there's been action taken.
Yes, sir. They have complied with what we asked them.
And is there a follow-up on it remaining?
No, sir.
It's
Not-
all
not
done.
right now. Yes, sir.
As far as you're concerned, they're in compliance.
Everything we asked them to do. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we'll do then is, and that was our telephonic hearing that no-showed, if I don't.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, here's what we'll do. Issue an order that they have complied with and cured the violations, and that, and I'm assuming they allowed you access to inspect?
Yes, sir, on the property. And actually, when they missed the telephonic,
Yeah.
then the owner came down from New Jersey. We met with him at the site. There was a phone mix-up and something happened, and that's why the
Okay,
telephonic got messed
so it was inadvertent,
Yes, sir.
not by indifference?
Right, yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's important. All right, the violations have been cured, that, there'll be the cost of $38.40, and any re-violation would be enhanced. Okay. Are there any other items that are still outstanding that we haven't already covered here today?
No, sir.
All right.
I just wanted to correct one thing on the previous case, the Xander Holdings, the 26-0031. They already paid the first order mailing costs of $19.20, so the outstanding would be $19.20.
Oh, okay, so all right.
Yes.
So if you would reduce it to that amount. Holly, when do you think you'd have those to me this time? Monday?
Yes.
In OT?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday's wonderful.
I don't know what happened, and not on your case about it, I just thought, did she forget?
No, I did not forget. Things came down the pipeline.
I assumed that you were jammed.
Yeah.
I
Some
understand.
litigation that I had to take over.
I'm just giving you a bad time.
No, it's deserved, so I understand.
All right.
Monday's fine.
Well, in fairness to
Yeah.
the parties, timely notice. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's talk about future tense. What's going on in your world, gentlemen? Anything coming?
We do have one that'll be next month, maybe, but we're gonna discuss this with, Holly, reference a, case that was, initially with encroachment, and then found out there was no permits on, having a stairwell that encroached into an area, but there was no permit, so they couldn't get an after-the-fact permit for it, so they had to tear it down, plus something else. So it's been
It's involved.
but he's already complied. He's been complied. It's just that we had to make it not this court date, but the next court date, and we were just wondering if we wanted to even go, because it's something that's never gonna happen again, because this is for what, every 5 years, like if it happens again?
Yeah.
This will never happen again, because he's already torn everything out, so it's just something we have to.
Well, and that's, if, frankly, I would not encourage bringing something like that if it's been cured and it's not likely to become a recurring issue. Then it's an imposition on the party that I would, I'd say, don't do it again. Okay, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, that'd be my feeling about it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's duly noted.
And unless you thought there was some possibility there would be something that could happen.
Your Honor, I'll be sending for all the
Yeah.
information.
Okay. Make the decision.
Make that suggestion.
Yeah, all right, that's fine, and that's her province. But I don't like to inconvenience people unnecessarily. Bringing them in here when they've done what they need to do, I don't see that as appropriate or necessary. Okay. Anything else?
The gentleman with the trucks, he complied Monday? I think it was Monday he complied, so.
Mr.
Pavia?
Pavia, yeah. Well, down to the wire. Yep. But it's done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. It,
Happens to the best of us.
I guess my question would be, if the notice of hearing already went out, and then they complied after that, would we still put it on the agenda? It would be heard, code enforcement would report, but we wouldn't require the respondent to be present if they chose not to be.
the area that remains unresolved is, I think if there was a violation that was noticed and subsequently complied, in the absence of a finding of violation by me, are they susceptible to a recurring violation enhanced penalty?
No, sir.
If they're not, the only thing then remains is costs. And
right.
And if they're notified of what costs are and pay those voluntarily, otherwise we probably need to have a hearing in order to have an order finding there was a violation, it was cured, and these are the costs that were incurred.
To complete the due process.
Right.
Because it's already
Make sure that the
entered.
city is not left, having spent money that it now has no means of recovering.
And this is in the context of before an initial hearing. So notice of violation is sent out.
Yep.
There's a compliance date. Respondent did not comply
Correct.
by said date, but they complied before the hearing.
Yeah, they complied after notice of hearing,
Has been
but
sent out.
before the hearing date, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
That would be subject to an enhanced penalty.
right. Well, if
If it was a repeat violation and the same violation.
And that's where the order of finding is essential.
Right.
So that would require at least, it be scheduled, whether they appear or not is at their discretion.
And that's really the kind, I think the question that we're having, is it based on discretion, if it's cured and code enforcement can report the findings to you, absent the respondent,
Right.
we can tell them, you can appear if you want to, you're not required to, we will wrap it up, the violation has been cured.
Right. The instance you spoke to with the stairway, that's sort of an unusual situation. It's out of the norm where things could, again, let's say it's the dumpster issue and the dumpster suddenly is back out in the open. Yeah, I would say, as a general rule, we need to hear it, even if they're not required to appear or choose not to appear, at their discretion. You're in compliance, but, the matter is going to be heard just to have a finding officially that it's been cured.
We will have a repeat violator for May. It's a case that we dealt with for a couple of years. They were cleared, they didn't pay their fees, so Michelle opened the case back up for fees, but the building was okayed, it was cleared. Well, now they've done some stuff and had to stop because they were doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing, they got a stop work order.
Which
In
matters.
front of it's wide open, anybody can come and go, any kids go in the stairs, no steps.
Is this one that I've heard before?
1201 South Central Avenue. We've had
The
problems
restaurant?
No, sir. Well, we've had trouble getting a hold of these people. They made contact with us for a while, then they didn't make contact, and apparently we now have some more information on them so we can notify them and mail.
But isn't that went to the commission and they gave them an extended period of time and stayed the lien?
Okay, then I've got.
So I don't think it goes back to the magistrate. I think it goes back to the commission.
They don't inform us of
what they're doing.
The communication.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can go back in the minutes, but I believe they came before the commission and they gave them a certain period of time where they weren't going to run the fines anymore.
Right.
And they had till that time to cure. I'm almost positive because that I think that went for an imposition of fines, and we started that whole foreclosure process on that one.
Right, that was involved.
And we'll see how that one's going, because
I'll look up all the stuff on it and send it to you, Holly.
And that kind of follows along with our condo problem with the permits, so that you don't look bad or be subject to someone's,
Well, this one's a little bit easier because I caught the guy.
yeah. but you know where I'm going.
Yes, sir.
Try to do some, if you're unsure, do some homework, research so that we're not caught in a tough spot here. Because he was pretty irate, to say the least. So, and I don't know whether it's totally justified or not, but at least on the surface it appears that it was. So, and I don't like to see you subjected to, somebody's anger, but
It's all right.
All right, parking appeals
I have 4 or 5, I believe.
for next month.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it'll be happy days. Let's see, wrong direction and sidewalks.
I don't even look anymore.
I'm sorry that you all get tired of hearing the backdrop, but it's what I have to do.
Each case is new, so you're telling it to a different person who needs to hear it.
We do the best we can, So,
Yeah, you signed the order authorizing foreclosure August 27th, 2025 on 1201.
Right, I remember.
So it went to the commission.
And at that point, they had counsel. Did they?
I believe so. Once the children
They got
heard about it, they got involved.
That was the house that there had been no response on, yes.
Right. And I recall it going before the commission and then them getting some leeway.
Yeah.
But I want to say that I don't know if time's up yet or not, but I'll look into it.
Do we have anything else out there?
No, sir.
There was something that I meant to ask you, Holly, and now it's escaping me because Drew was going to approach the commission about, do you remember the conversation that we had? It goes back, it had asking the commission for approval to do something, and I can't remember what.
Oh, for the parking citation appeals, the processing fee.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do we know what's happened?
Well, I think it's starting to calm down. The agendas seem to be less and maybe not going into 10 o'clock at night.
No.
So I'm sure it'll pop back up
With the commission?
sometime this summer. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. And then they'll make a decision about, and that was recovering costs, correct?
That was, I think it was like an additional, I think my proposal was $10 for a submittal fee, like a filing fee.
Oh, okay.
Just to get, if you want to contest this ticket, then it's going to be a filing fee to process the paperwork, and it would be that initial recovery of the cost of the certified mailings.
Which is minimal, because it really doesn't.
It's extremely minimal because.
But it's kind of a little hurdle. If you really want to do this, you're going to have to put up some money.
Well, and I don't think it's too much of a hurdle because it's $9.60 out the door for the city every time somebody contests a parking ticket.
I understand.
And the postage is going up again this year.
Yeah, and I made an effort today to be diligent about us getting costs.
Oh, no, I appreciate that.
And because, if you don't kick me, I'll forget sometimes, but, don't be reluctant. What about costs? Okay. But I want to make sure that, because at the end of the day, it ends up being a lot of money.
It does. It's a nickel and dime kind of, when you're looking at it, but it adds up. Yes, sir, it does.
Not to even mention the cost of everybody's time. Your time, my time, your time, your time, you know, it becomes an expensive process. They're entitled to it, but notwithstanding, you know, it's not cheap. So, all right, anything else, folks?
No, sir.
We good? Are you all staying out of trouble?
I'm trying to.
No, apparently not.
You're under oath.
Yeah, right?
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, well, then we'll call it a day at 3:55, 56, whatever, I don't know.